Welcome to Future_Music Deep Dive. And before we even really define today's objective, I need you to visualize a very specific scenario.
Right, yeah. Picture four artists, sitting around a table in this really bustling cafe in Mapo, South Korea.
Yeah.
And between sips of cold brew and iced Americanos, they're navigating this wildly chaotic spectrum of human experience.
Yeah, exactly. Like in one breath, they are discussing the public, deeply humiliating realities of clinical weight loss treatments.
Right. And then in the next, they're, casually plotting to sell free, oversized furniture to their competitive rivals. It's so funny.
It is. And buzzing beneath all of this everyday banter is the terrifying, life-altering prospect of sudden, overwhelming fame.
Oh, absolutely.
So we are stepping into the incredibly high-stakes ecosystem of famous singers need hit songs. And specifically, we're tracking the trajectory of the top 6 vocalists from the television phenomenon Sing Again 4.
Yeah, and these rising artists are, they're placed in this fiercely competitive crucible, basically.
Yeah. Right. They are vying for custom-tailored hit tracks produced by some of the most legendary hitmakers in the Korean music industry. So our mission today is to unpack episode 11, centering entirely on that pivotal cafe meetup between Team Kodo, which is the highly analytical pairing of the singer Dorado and the producer code Kunst.
That's a good pairing.
Yeah, and Team Garden, which pairs the earnest rising singer Kim Ji-min with the deeply idiosyncratic producer Garden.
And, as we dissect this meeting, I want to explicitly remind you of the reality of the timeline we are operating in here.
Right. That's crucial.
Because the songs being conceptualized and emotionally wrestled with in this Mapo Cafe,
yeah,
they're already out in the world.
Exactly.
Everyone already knows exactly what they sound like and how they performed. So this is not about guessing what the music will be.
Oh, not at all.
It is about reverse engineering, the complex psychology, the interpersonal dynamics, and the precise strategic architecture that brought those known hits into existence.
Right. So let's start by looking at the foundational cracks in the blueprint, which appear, long before the producers fully take the reins.
Oh, for sure.
At the very opening of this segment, we get this incredibly raw glimpse into Kim Ji-min's emotional baseline. I mean, he is practically buzzing with this nervous, palpable excitement.
He really is. He's singing a snippet of his track to himself, something like, "Too many thoughts trying to get out of my head."
Yeah.
And you can just hear the sheer relief in his voice. He literally says that when the song is good, he just exhales.
But then Code Kunst arrives first and immediately pranks him.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He pretends the producer pairing has been switched.
Which is such a classic studio move. But that prank instantly exposes Kim Ji-min's fragility.
Totally.
If you analyze his emotional profile in that exact moment, he is entirely exposed. And once the joke is cleared up, he makes this profound statement to the producers.
All right, he says, "You're not the old J-Man anymore."
Exactly. He feels that through this specific song, through the right arrangement of melody and lyrics, he is physically and emotionally shedding his past identity.
Yeah.
And think about what that actually means for a young artist. To feel that your entire sense of self, your evolution as a human being, is being catalyzed by a piece of music handed to you by someone else.
It's heavy. It highlights the immense, almost frightening psychological power that a producer holds over a rising star.
Oh, absolutely.
They aren't just handing them a track, they are architecting a completely new identity. And what fascinates me from a purely analytical production standpoint is how Garden handles that immense power.
Yeah, he's so interesting in this.
He exhibits what I can only really describe as masterful strategic humility. When they're discussing the track, Garden openly admits that his own signature style, what he calls his show-me production style, might have actually been a terrible fit for Kim Ji-min.
Right, and for those who might not be completely immersed in the Korean hip-hop scene, that show-me reference is crucial context.
Yeah, break that down.
He is talking about Show Me the Money, the notoriously aggressive rap survival competition. And the mechanics of a show-me production style, they involve dominant, heavy trap beats, aggressive bass lines.
Very intense, yeah.
An environment that demands the vocalist physically and sonically attack the microphone.
Exactly. Garden recognized that if he imposed that specific sonic fingerprint onto a singer like Kim Ji-min, who thrives on a more delicate emotional resonance, it would have been highly discordant.
Yeah, it would have clashed completely.
So he actively stepped back. He chose a different producer for the actual track construction to ensure the optimal result.
Which is fascinating.
But hold on, though. I actually have to push back on that strategy a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that essentially a cop-out? I mean, if Ka더가든 is a legendary producer, shouldn't his primary job be to adapt his skill set to fit Kim Ji-min rather than just outsourcing the physical track construction entirely?
I get why you'd say that, but it really looks like a cop-out only until you understand the physical physics of a recording studio.
What do you mean?
Well, a dominant producer's mere presence in the mixing booth can subconsciously force a young vocalist to alter their natural singing posture out of sheer intimidation.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they tense their vocal cords, they change their breath control, mostly just trying to match the energy of the legend sitting behind the glass. So by completely removing his show-me energy from the foundational track creation, Ka더가든 wasn't abandoning his post. He was optimizing the environment.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense mechanically. As Codekunst astutely points out during this exact exchange, true production isn't always about turning the knobs yourself.
Right.
It is about the conceptual architecture. He uses this great sports analogy, noting that a producer's real job is knowing if a player is an attacker, a defender, or a midfielder, and placing them in the exact right position on the field to score.
Exactly.
By not forcing his own imposing sound onto Kim Ji-min, Ka더가든 performed the highest level of production strategy possible. He allowed Kim Ji-min the psychological space to shed that old Jimin identity without being suffocated.
That's so true. But, the energy in the cafe completely shifts the second Dorado arrives.
Oh, a total 180.
The contrast is immediate. Ka더가든 instantly notes that her response, her overall aura, is much better than Kim Ji-min's frantic, eager-to-please energy.
She is just so calm.
She walks in entirely grounded. She is cool, she is collected, she doesn't apologize for taking up space. And this completely different physical presence ushers in a totally different strategic approach from Codekunst.
Right. He reveals a massive fundamental pivot for her track. He casually mentions that the instrumental for her song was completely finished, but he is in the process of rewriting absolutely all of the lyrics from scratch.
Which is a huge deal.
It is. Now, before we break down the mechanics of why he did that, I need to make a quick note for you listening. Please listen to the podcast we released last Monday about Purple Love, the song that Team Kodo produced.
Yes, definitely go listen to that.
Because having that context is vital. Since we already know exactly how Purple Love turned out, we have the unique opportunity to examine the precise reason Codekunst scrapped the original narrative.
Yeah, and he specifically states he is rewriting everything to capture a deeply lonesome vibe.
Right.
He's dialing into the highly specific feeling of living in a foreign country, which prompts this really hilarious reaction from Ka더gaden, who interjects to joke that a song about living in a foreign country is actually just trot music.
Oh, so funny.
He even teases that he should connect them with the trot singer Park Ji-hyun.
Yeah, and that trot joke is actually layered with some deep industry insight.
Oh, for sure.
Because trot is essentially Korea's oldest pop genre. It's built on repetitive two-beat rhythms and immense vocal inflection, and it famously deals with the sorrow of foreign lands, lost love, and that deep cultural sentiment of Han, or unresolved longing.
Right.
By comparing Codekunst's modern, lonesome R&B concept to trot, Ka더gaden is pointing out that they are tapping into the most universally understood Korean emotional frequency.
And why did Codekunst feel the need to tear the original lyrics away to reach that frequency?
Well, because this demonstrates an unbreakable tenet of hitmaking. A phenomenal, chart-ready beat is never enough on its own.
No, it rarely is.
The narrative architecture of the song must perfectly contour to the singer's physical presence and emotional geometry. When a singer performs, the vowels, the consonants, the physical shape of their mouth, it all must align with their natural demeanor.
Yeah, totally.
If Dorado is going to sell this song to the public, the words have to feel inextricably linked to her own independent, slightly mysterious aura. Codekunst recognized that the original lyrics didn't match the weight she carries into a room.
And you can see that bespoke tailoring happening across the entire Mapo ecosystem with the other competitors, too.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Every producer is searching for these highly specific emotional intersections.
Yeah.
You have this seasoned veteran Yoon Jong-shin trying to find the exact right narrative resonance for Koyuri. You have the meticulously detailed, almost obsessive work Kim Jong-won is doing to custom fit a track to the vocal contours of Leo Wook.
Exactly.
It is not about handing down a generic pop song. It is about custom fitting a sonic garment to a very specific human being.
Yeah, and the conversation then makes this seamless, unprompted transition from the lofty psychological heights of lyric tailoring to the intensely grounding physical realities of the industry.
Rowan.
Because ultimately, the emotional profile has to live inside a physical body that the industry deems marketable.
It's so true. And it starts with Code Kunst deploying this incredibly dry, deadpan joke where he tells Kim Ji-min that he couldn't possibly produce for him because Code Kunst doesn't deal with obesity.
I couldn't believe he said that out loud.
It is a shocking thing to say, but it immediately prompts Ka더가든 to laugh and agree, noting that he and Code Kunst haven't been able to work together ever since he gained weight.
Yeah.
This dark, self-deprecating humor opens the door to a remarkably candid discussion.
Ka더가든 launches into a deeply revealing story about his recent experience getting a Mounjaro weight loss injection.
Right.
And the way he describes the clinic visit is just a masterclass in the stripping away of celebrity mystique.
It really is. He describes walking into this clinic expecting discretion, and instead a nurse just loudly shouts across the room, "Mr. Cha, did you come for your Mounjaro shot?"
So embarrassing.
She completely broadcasts his private medical treatment. Then he is forced to be publicly weighed on a scale, sitting right out in the open waiting room, clocking in at 96 kilograms for everyone to see.
Oh, man.
Finally, he is bluntly told he needs to lose at least 10 kilograms.
You have this brilliant, culturally respected producer, and in that waiting room, he is reduced to an inadequate number on a public scale.
Exactly.
It is a profound contrast to the untouchable pop stardom we project onto them. But if we analyze the mechanics of this physical pressure, it is not just about shallow vanity.
No, it's deeper than that.
The music industry demands visual synchronicity, just as ruthlessly as it demands audio clarity. The visual package is a core component of the product delivery.
And you see that synchronicity when Kim Ji-min mentions that he wants to register for boxing to slim down.
Right.
Code Kunst observes a very specific physical change in him, noting that Kim Ji-min's eyes look entirely different, much clearer and sharper than they did during his very first appearance on Sing Again.
Yeah, Kim Ji-min's physical evolution, like the literal clearing and sharpening of his gaze, is directly mirroring his musical evolution.
Totally.
As he steps into this highly produced artistic identity, his physical presence is aligning with that newfound clarity. The industry requires the artist to look exactly like the music sounds.
Yet human biology constantly fights back against this rigid aesthetic programming.
Always.
The Garden insists throughout this conversation that the Mounjaro shot has completely destroyed his desire to eat. He claims he has survived the entire day on absolutely nothing but cold brew coffee. But the very second Dorado innocently mentions the word oven, his brain instantaneously bypasses all of that clinical discipline. He admits he started daydreaming about fresh, hot meat.
I find that moment so fascinating because Mounjaro, mathematically speaking, is a GLP-1 agonist.
Right.
It actively targets the brain's reward centers, dampening the dopamine release you normally get from anticipating food. The fact that the mere mention of an oven overrides a clinical dopamine suppressant shows just how powerful the psychological craving for comfort is.
It's incredibly powerful.
Which leads to that incredibly funny side tangent where Kim Ji-min earnestly expresses his love for the savory taste of pure lard.
Oh, yeah. And the Garden is just utterly intrigued by that.
It is human nature breaking through the industry machinery, you know.
Yeah, and that biological hunger seamlessly mirrors their psychological hunger. The material desires they discuss next serve as the ultimate psychological projective test.
This was such a good segment.
Code Kunst poses this brilliant hypothetical. He asks, if you could have one thing right now, completely regardless of music, what would it be?
And Kim Ji-min gives the most predictable answer for a 23-year-old guy on the precipice of fame. A car.
Of course.
A car is the universal mechanical symbol of outward mobility. It represents speeding away from your current circumstances and arriving at success. It is pure kinetic energy.
But Dorado completely rejects the car. She calls it boring.
Yeah.
Instead, she declares she wants an oven. And she specifically clarifies to Kim Ji-min that she doesn't mean a small appliance for baking bread. She means a heavy-duty, regular cooking oven.
Which is such an interesting choice.
Right. If you look at the mechanics of an oven in a living space, it literally anchors the room. It is heavy, domestic, and requires time to preheat and cook.
Right.
To desire an oven is to crave stability. It's a desire to establish a home amidst the transient, chaotic whirlwind of rising fame. She wants something that anchors her, which perfectly aligns with the deeply lonesome, fiercely independent narrative Code Kunst is weaving for her.
And that fiercely independent nature is cemented when she shares the story about her sofa.
Oh, the sofa story.
She reveals she recently acquired a sofa, likely an expensive or gifted item, but couldn't fit it into her dorm room.
Right.
Instead of following the expected social script of the humble rookie and giving it away, she announces her master plan. She is going to sell this free sofa to Seo Hee, the participant who came in 4th place.
It is so funny. Kim Ji-min is practically gasping with laughter at the sheer audacity of selling something she got for free to a defeated competitor.
It's ruthless.
Kunst calls her mean, but underneath the teasing, he looks at her and says, "You really are a star, aren't you?"
And from a strategic branding perspective, he is entirely correct. He is recognizing the mechanics of parasocial relationships.
Exactly.
Fans do not fall in love with perfectly accommodating, endlessly polite robots who perform tedious false modesty. Dorado isn't pretending to be a saint. She is intensely practical, unabashedly opportunistic, and uniquely herself.
Yeah, totally.
That specific kind of unapologetic authenticity is exactly the trait that cultivates a fiercely loyal, dedicated fan base. She possesses an innate understanding of her own market value.
But possessing that star quality also makes her highly susceptible to the dangers of the industry, which brings us to the emotional climax of this entire meeting.
Yeah, things get really serious here.
The conversation deepens from material desires like ovens and sofas to the overarching desire that brought them all to Mapo, which is fame.
Right.
And it is here that Kathegaden and Kunst drop a sobering, philosophical reality check on Kim Ji-min.
Kathegaden asks Kim Ji-min his age. When Kim Ji-min replies he is 23, Kathegaden immediately, without hesitation, warns him, "If you have a hit song now, your life will be ruined."
Which is such a powerful statement.
It is. Kunst entirely agrees, stating that a massive hit song should really only come to you when you feel like you are going absolutely out of your mind from the weight.
Yeah.
He notes his own breakout hit, Good Day, didn't happen until he was 29, and Kathegaden didn't enter the charts until he was 37.
They are actively dismantling the romanticized myth of the overnight teenage success story. And Kunst delivers the defining thesis of the meeting. He says, "I don't want to make a hit song. I want to make your life a hit."
I love that quote so much. If we analyze the mechanics of career longevity, a premature hit is a structural trap.
Absolutely.
It instantly pigeonholes a young artist, permanently cementing them to a specific sound or trend that they haven't matured enough to evolve past.
Right. They get stuck.
The strategy of a legendary producer isn't just mixing audio for maximum immediate impact. It is architecting the metabolic rate of an entire career. Kunst admits that if he feels a track will be too easy of a hit, he will throw the entire song away.
Wow.
He will literally sabotage a guaranteed chart topper to protect the artist.
It's a profound act of mentorship, honestly. They're really trying to reduce the inevitable suffering that comes with this industry.
Yeah, because sudden fame is chaotic.
Extremely chaotic.
Yeah.
They explicitly warn Kim Ji-min about the dangerous dopamine hit of sudden attention.
And this is where the entire conversation connects brilliantly. Earlier, we talked about how Mounjaro chemically suppresses the dopamine spikes from food to protect the physical body.
Right.
Here, the producers are acting as a psychological suppressant. They are artificially suppressing the dopamine spike of premature fame to protect the artist's career.
Oh, that's a great parallel.
If a 23-year-old gets a massive dopamine hit from an early chart topper, their brain becomes addicted to a level of attention they cannot systematically sustain.
Exactly. And by managing his expectations, by actively slowing down his desperate sprint towards superstardom, they are increasing his understanding of himself.
Yeah, which is so crucial at that age.
They assure him he will be a superstar by 25, but they tell him to take it slow. They are trying to build a foundation that ensures true, long-lasting prosperity in his life, not just a fleeting spike on the charts.
Right, true prosperity. Once that heavy foundational truth is established, the tension at the table kind of breaks.
Yeah, they exhale a bit.
The artists naturally look back out at the physical landscape around them, grounding themselves in the specific geography of Mapo. And because Mapo is essentially the central nervous system of the Korean music industry, the overarching reality of the competition rushes right back in.
The Garden points out that because of their location, they could theoretically step outside and spy on their direct competition.
Oh, yeah.
He specifically targets the formidable pairing of the eccentric producer Zion.T and the singer Sadu.
A very strong team.
He notes they're likely working in a studio right in their immediate neighborhood.
And the way they discuss Zion.T's studio perfectly illustrates the obsessive mechanics required at this level of production.
Yeah, it sounds intense.
Kathagaden and Kim Ji-min share this whispered warning about the physical experience of going to Zion.T's workspace. They describe the massive door and joke that once you step inside, you are effectively a hostage.
That's hilarious.
You absolutely cannot leave until Zion.T has forced you to sit and listen to every single song he has been endlessly tinkering with.
I love that imagery of the studio as an inescapable fortress. It maps out the psychological landscape of their competitors so vividly.
It really does.
And it reminds us of the wider interconnected web of anxiety and ambition happening simultaneously across the city. You have the inescapable gravity of Sawdu and Zion.T.
Right.
You have the immense reverence the singer slowly holds for her producer, Shin, who acts as this massive role model.
Yeah.
You have the fascinating dynamic we mentioned earlier of Curie working alongside the stoic Yoon Jong-shin,
who Kathagaden hilariously impersonates as having not a single musical note in his face.
So good. And then there's the intense, likely grueling vocal synchronization happening between Leo Wook and Kim Jong-won.
Every single one of these pairings is locked in their own private fortress, trying to engineer the exact same strategic magic that Team Kodo and Team Jamdo Garden are searching for in that cafe.
Exactly.
So, as we pull back the lens on this deep dive, what have we actually uncovered?
A lot, honestly.
Well, we have seen that hit-making is a complex mechanical process of matching a veteran producer's environmental control with an artist's physical and emotional vulnerability.
Yeah.
We watched Code Kunst execute the highly tailored rewriting of a narrative to perfectly fit Dorado's physical aura.
Which was brilliant.
We analyzed how the clinical aesthetic demands of the industry directly synchronize with the audio output. And, crucially, we witnessed how true producers manipulate the metabolic rate of a career, suppressing the dangerous dopamine of premature fame to build sustainable longevity.
It forces you to completely reevaluate the architecture of the music you consume.
It really does.
Which leaves you with a final, lingering thought to mull over as you step back into your own reality.
What's that?
Well, when an artist finally reaches that pinnacle, when they finally secure the massive hit song, they have been bleeding for how much of that monumental success truly belongs to their own raw, innate talent, and how much of it secretly belongs to the producer sitting in the shadows. The one who completely scrapped their original lyrics, manipulated their studio environment, suppressed their psychological dopamine, and told them exactly who they needed to become to survive the spotlight.
That's the real question.
If your life truly becomes a hit, who is actually writing the script?